everyone. Not sure where you are, but I am in Columbus, Ohio, and we've got Scott Eddy, Mr. Scott Eddy, on with us today. And I know Scott is not in Columbus, Ohio. Scott, where are you today?
I am in Sedona, and very randomly, today is April 3rd. Yesterday, April 2nd, we had over an inch of snow in Sedona, which is like mind-blowing to me because it's April.
Wow.
This is crazy.
And I think you said you made a snowball. That's how much
I did make
snow
a
they
snowball.
actually got.
I absolutely made a snowball.
It's crazy. Well, we won't go down a climate change rabbit hole, but I bet it was really, really cool to see. I mean, that backdrop.
Yeah. I mean, I really made it a point. I mean, listen, growing up in Florida, growing up in Fort Lauderdale, like it's just every day is 90 degrees. It's
Yeah.
We do get a few months of wonderful weather in the winter, but like that heat, I mean, yesterday was 88 degrees down there. I'm like, I fly back down tomorrow and it's like, God damn.
Yeah.
I'm so over the hot 90 degrees every single day. So I really made it a point this winter to see snow, and I checked a lot off my box because the first month I was in Quebec, the Quebec region for a month, and it was like, wow, we were on an icebreaker. We were snowmobiling. It was like minus 18. There was like 7 feet of snow on the ground. I mean, we really like, they always say, be careful what you wish for. So
in Quebec,
I got it.
That is one of my favorite places in the world. You want to talk about a quintessential like winter escape, and we're going to talk about that. But for your audience knows you. I mean, you have a massive following, are really one of the OGs in this space, or the OG, if I can. But for my audience, who's maybe a little bit more used to that sustainability conversation, I want to make sure that we give some context. I've admired your work for a long time. I mean, from afar, you look like you have a dream job, which I know you do, but there's a lot of work that went into it and still goes into it. But, your ability to really deeply connect that traveler with the brand is so special. And I can't wait to talk about what does that methodology look like. But Scott, you have such a unique story. You have a very unconventional introduction into, let's call it, the travel hospitality space. Share that with us a little bit, and then share how that perspective ended up kind of bleeding into your digital, strategy.
On the very opposite side of the fence. My father was a police officer, and he was a Michigan State Police. I was born in Michigan, and then we moved down to Fort Lauderdale when I was 3, and he was a Fort Lauderdale cop. And my life growing up, I spent a lot of time in the police station, just hanging out, watching, going on ride-alongs. My life was mapped out. It was going to be, I finished high school, join the police academy, become a cop, have the 2.5 kids, the white picket fence, retire and die. I didn't know that there was another option. I hated school. I was a terrible student. I was a C- student in high school. And 3 weeks, so I had a date to join the police academy, but 3 weeks before I graduated high school, my father died in the line of duty in a plane crash, and it just turned my world upside down. And I didn't know what was what, because like everything was mapped out, and now I didn't want to do any of it. So had no clue what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to be a cop anymore. So I ended up getting into an investment banking training program. Didn't even know that was a thing. And I was in investment banking for 10 years, all of the 90s. And there was a guy who sat next to me at the firm. His best friend was an expat working in Bangkok. So whenever he used to come over and visit, we used to always hang out, drinks and dinner, and we became really close. And he always used to tell me to come visit him. And I was like, I work 90 hours a week. I can't take a 24-hour flight. Like, the math doesn't work out. So in January of 1999, it was a Friday. I'll never forget this day. They came out of the office and said, we just sold the firm, and half the firm resigned, including myself. That guy called me the next morning on Saturday and he's like, you have no job, come and visit me. And I bought a 2-week ticket, left the next day. After 4 days, I called my mother. I was like, I'm never coming home. I love this place. And she sent my things and I ended up living in Bangkok for 11 years. So I was there very early, very like before all this stuff. Really got acclimated and partied my butt off all over Asia and really made a lot of friends all over and really like, I mean, it's a different planet in Asia. So, getting used to that after growing up in the States was a big transition. So, when social media came out, if you've never been to Asia, whatever you think social media is here, over there, it's like on steroids. I don't know if people know this, but the first 3 or 4 years that Instagram was in existence, the most Instagram place on the planet was Bangkok.
No.
And I was there for all of it. Yeah, it was incredible. So anyway, Twitter was my first go-to, and that happened to be a place where all the PR people were at. That's where all the wine people were at. That's where I met Sarah. And I was very early on Twitter. I was probably first 2,000-3,000 people on Twitter. And I didn't know it, but I was building a personal brand. Personal brand wasn't a word back then. Influencers weren't a word back then. Like there wasn't an exchange for a post for a hotel room stay. Like none of that, because social media was very immature back then. So on a whim, I started a digital agency just because I come from the sales world and marketing. Like I was already friends with a lot of hotel people. So it was just, it just felt right. Turned out to be the first digital agency in Asia. And we were the biggest for 5 years. And we had 27 clients in the first 3 weeks, and all my clients were hotels. So it was sort of like on the job training in the most aggressive manner possible. Yeah, it was crazy,
But that's when like there were no, probably now it's like, there's a rule for this platform, a rule for that. Correct. And I think I know I get caught up in it, not to imply that it was easy. I just mean that to me is like, man, it was probably so much more fun to learn it that way when you didn't have to worry about. Right.
There was no roadmap.
You created it.
Yeah, I mean, I had to educate the market. I had to deliver results. So that made me. So everybody sees what I have now, and he has a big audience. He's just an influencer. Like, I have been laser focused on ROI from day one because I was on the agency side, and on the agency side, that's all that matters. It's crazy. It taught me 2 different things. It taught me local culture always wins, and trends don't translate equally across borders. So before you copy and paste a strategy from another market, you have to ask yourself, does this match the way the locals communicate, celebrate, and connect? And if not, you have to shift a little bit,
Okay, so that is a really, really valuable piece of advice, whether you're a hotel brand, an individual brand. So let's look at that a little bit deeper. So let's say you have been kind of adopting outside market practices. What does that look like in practice? Just going and studying your competitive set and seeing who's making progress, who is doing well, and then kind of copying that?
I mean, here's the thing. People that do social media today, the average brand, and I'm not, everything that I say forever, for the rest of my life, it's one man's opinion. So obviously this doesn't apply to every single brand, but I promise you it applies to most. Most brands out there, they say, society says I should do social media, so let me hire a social media person. Okay, this person is my social media person. Oh, by the way, here's 18 other job responsibilities that I'm going to put on top of your social media, and then get to the postings when you have a chance. So immediately they're behind the 8 ball, and they stand no chance to be successful. Mm-hmm. So, and most brands aren't sitting out there scrolling and doing research and looking what their competitors doing. They're like, oh, we got to make a video. Let's make a video. Let's post it. Let's get to the other stuff.
So it's almost an afterthought. It's like
it's completely an afterthought.
Yeah, it's checking
completely.
A box. You know, I'll tell you.
So I'm sorry. Let me just finish this.
No, please
so
finish.
As far as internationally wise, okay, Southeast Asia digital adoption leapfrog desktops immediately. Everyone went straight to mobile first behavior. In Europe, storytelling and heritage matter more. People care about why you exist. In North America, it's performance driven, but often too focused on the short term. In the Caribbean, authenticity and culture are everything. So if your content doesn't feel real, it doesn't work. You know, those are all, you know, and people also don't localize their content by language, but also emotion. You know, these are what people care about the most. You know what I mean?
I find that so fascinating. And, you know, what I was going to say is one of the reasons I reached out to you is because I feel like everything I talk about that's housed under sustainability is really the fundamentals of the way you approach your business and your clients. Because sustainability is all about authenticity. It's about creating true loyalty through purpose-driven initiatives. And then the result is your teams are more engaged, you know, and all those byproducts that I could ramble on. But I just feel like, you know, this is a great opportunity maybe for Earth Month. If you're a hotelier or in the business or even a personal brand, maybe this is where you dip your toe in and you see, let's start with some Earth Month strategies and see where we get some traction.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So, you know, I had my own unconventional entry into hospitality. And my business now as a sustainability consultant, but I started on cruise ships and that was kind of like my catalyst. But I know that you have done some incredible cruises and cruise work. Tell us a little bit about that, some of your highlights. I know we talked about Quebec and you were on a cruise there, but what are some real takeaways that you had?
So cruising is exploded over the past few years. I mean, over the past decade, but and then everybody, you know, gave them the thumbs down during COVID, and now they're hot again. You know, it's funny how that works. But I grew up, as I said, in Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Lauderdale used to be the cruise capital of the world before Miami built out their huge port. But it's always been South Florida, and cruising was a way of life for us growing up. We always did one. My mother was born in Jamaica. So the Caribbean has always been very, very special to me. The cruise that we just did in Quebec was on Ponant and was on an icebreaker. And basically the St. Lawrence River was completely frozen in certain parts, and there was 2 feet of ice, and we were just crushing through the ice. It was an unbelievable experience. It's the most unique cruise I've ever been on, and that supersedes Antarctica, and Antarctica was pretty special. But that Ponant cruise was my 120th, and we go on another cruise all over Tahiti and Bora Bora April 12th, and that'll be my 121st. Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the jealousy I have about that. But I'm excited for the audience because I'm sure they're going to come follow you. There is nothing like inspiration through, I mean, that's especially Instagram and travel. I think we both can agree is, I mean, you name it, whether it's escaping, whether it's inspiration. I mean, there is, that's why people fall in love with travel and these different places. So we're getting ready to actually go to Anegada in the British Virgin Islands. Have you ever been there?
I've been to the BVI. I think I've been there once a long time ago, but I've done a lot in the BVI.
Yeah. Oh,
You're gonna
okay.
have a blast.
I am so excited. They have resident flamingos, and it's this ecotourism place. So I'm gonna try a vlog. We'll see what happens. But so Scott, I would love to hear what you think about what American hotels can really learn from that international approach or strategy, what you think that they're doing better. I hate to use that word, but just having more success with that. If possibly the US would adopt it, they would see better results.
It's not so much that international does it better than America. I definitely think that it's a global problem. I just don't think that they put the value on social media. Now, some of them do. I work with a lot of them that are incredible. They devote a lot of resources. They have social media teams. I work with some wonderful properties, but the majority of them, it's just on the back burner. And how can you put something on the back burner that's the number one pipeline of communication today?
Yeah.
It's astounding to me. You have direct access to people. They eat, breathe, and sleep with their phone next to them. It's not like TV was. It's not like magazines and newspapers, and those days are gone. I know people that still spend $15,000 a month to have an ad in a magazine because their friend owns it. And I'm like, you don't even have a social media team. Like, are you crazy? It's just, they're stuck in 2012.
Yeah.
They're stuck in the book direct with banners, those type of things, the robotic email blasts and that type of thing. It's crazy. It's just not normal. But as far as like how to get out of that rut is you just need to realize and just watch and look at what humans do. Just watch human behavior. That is, truth be told, that is the number one thing that you can do as a sales marketer to learn. You can personalize emails these days based on behavior and past days. You can use behind the scenes videos to introduce them to your team. You can, replace that boring old stale marketing copy with updated storytelling. You can add value to direct bookings like a chef meet and greet or extra spa credit or whatever. There's so much that you can do.
And I feel like this almost lends, again, kind of the same way I approach my work, which is ask your teams, what do they think would work? Correct. What do they see value in? Where do they have conversations from guests that spark ideas? Because that is where, to me, the gold is a lot of times. It is that what they think maybe is, and I don't want to use the wrong word, but unsophisticated or, just not what they were thinking about. But that sometimes becomes, I think too about, it's like when hotels wouldn't adopt Wi-Fi, they thought that wasn't going to be a thing. And it's like, come on, guys.
I mean, truth be told, if hotels weren't always looking to nickel and dime guests, if I had a hotel, I would invest in the fastest Wi-Fi on the planet, and I would literally market it that way. You get the fastest free Wi-Fi of any hotel on the planet. Like, that's the best marketing you can. Who doesn't want that?
And that seems so simple, but we think
it's
about
so simple.
Anybody that is a professional these days, whether you have planned a leisure trip, you are working and you are enjoying yourself if it's a hotel that you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing you're going to be mad about is if your Wi-Fi isn't any good, especially like video is everything now. So if you can't get on video, you're toast. I love that.
Yeah, if anybody follows me, they know when I go to a hotel, the first thing I do is screenshot the Wi-Fi speed.
Watch out, if Scott's coming.
No, and they know, so I don't like throwing brands under the bus, but they know that if I don't post it, it sucks.
Yeah.
So immediately, if they see me posting videos of the property without the Wi-Fi speed, I get messages. Oh, so the Wi-Fi isn't good, huh?
I love that.
It's
I
crazy.
love that. You better reservations. You better start looking on your
Right.
who's upcoming into the hotel. Because if it's Scott,
Right.
call Spectrum or don't. Because oh God, that's a whole nother conversation. Okay, so I love what you say sometimes about metrics, and you're like, metrics don't sell, right? Emotion sells, which is again such a simple philosophy, but not simple in practice because people aren't doing it as much as they could, right? So what would the opposite of metrics be, and what are some of those metrics that you think that they're still stuck in measuring that they could, I don't know, does emotion replace metrics?
So no, I mean, listen, metrics are not bad. It's the problem is they only focus on that as you winning or losing.
Sure.
And that's not true because and that's the true meaning behind marketing. Marketing is not always going to have ROI. Marketing is not always going to produce that $1 ROI overnight and it's going to fall on top of your head. Sometimes you're investing in something and you're investing in your brand and brand awareness, and you're trying to build up your audience and you're trying to educate. Every form of education about your property is not going to get, oh my God, we got a book there because, they have a beautiful staff. Like, just, it doesn't work that way. It's, first off, you have to go inside of metrics, and going inside is you need to start with corporate culture. You need to pay your people right. You need to treat your people right. And that will trickle down to the guest experience. And then on top of that, invest in the power of video, the power of social media, invest in storytelling and just highlighting things that people would want to see. Like turn your employees into influencers, content creators.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's not going to want to do it, but there's going to be some that do. And drink of the day with our head bartender, or wine of the day with our sommelier, and let's go out to the pool while they're setting up the loungers, and let's talk to our employees out there, and let's get their take on the day.
And again, it's so easy, but
so easy. It's so simple.
It's extracting data from your guest. How many times do we see a survey at the end of our stay, and there's not a question about social media? What do you want, or what would you like to see?
Yeah.
That would be something really simple to do. Again, takes a little bit of foresight, but
do you know where brands mess up a lot? So in my world, do you know where they mess up a lot?
Yeah.
They'll spend thousands of dollars on a campaign. And I'll get done with everything. And I do longer things versus shorter things. Like, it's very rare for us to do something less than 2 weeks.
Okay.
So at the end of the trip, we'll have like a call debrief or maybe right there on the property before we leave. And they always say, what did you enjoy most? Like, isn't that obvious? Why wouldn't you ask me, what were the issues? What did you enjoy least? What problems did you have? What could I do better the next time? When I tell you, I have never had that question in my life.
Yeah, that is a really interesting.
It's crazy.
That is a good nugget.
Now,
right
that's
here.
That's an internal issue.
Of course.
But it's mind-boggling to me. I'm still waiting for the brand to do it.
That's a takeaway that, you could apply in so many different ways and gather just so much great data.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about really quick, if we have people that maybe have a personal brand.
Yeah.
How does your strategy or your advice change with a hotel or a business versus a personal brand when you are, employing a social media strategy or a digital marketing strategy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a personal brand, I live and breathe transparency. But how does a hotel do that? You start by showing people, introduce your team, spotlight your suppliers, talk about your challenges, not just your wins. I mean, listen, guests don't expect perfection, they expect honesty. It's if there's one thing that COVID did well for us, that was a plus that came out of the pandemic, is authenticity, raw videos, shaky videos with your phone that are unedited do very well. They do better than my polished, videos that we hire a videographer and it takes 2 weeks to edit and we post it after the fact. My raw stuff does extremely well, much better than those. I mean, you always want to have those, and brands want those fancy videos every once in a while, but listen, it is not unheard of for a GM or a manager or a front office staff to like grab their phone and say, another day at the hotel, we're all here, we're waiting for guests, just be real. Like, why not? Like, your company strategy could be empower your GM and your department heads to show up on social. Use stories to capture the real-time feel of the property. Let UGC, user-generated content, do some of the heavy lifting. Your guests are your best storytellers because they're feeling it right then.
And the emotion they have when they're on property.
Yeah.
If they're on a vacation or a holiday, man, that shines through, right? You want to talk about a testimonial. Oh my gosh, that's TripAdvisor. I mean, that's after the fact most of the time, even though they're very valuable, but that raw, real emotion to have a guest there. And I love that. Thinking about, if you think any property really, the vibe and the, everything about that property is because of the leadership. So you put that person on camera.
Yeah.
And I think that is so powerful. If you are a hotel GM, you need to be scheduling that right now, because great properties always have great leadership. And so I think the guests would love to see that.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, hotels rarely reply to comments. Like, there's a human on the other side that took time out of their day to reply. Like, why not reply back? Like, and sometimes I'll get a reply like 3 weeks later. Like, are you crazy? What good does that do?
Yep.
First off, I'm already gone. But second off, I'm already out of the ether. I'm already, I have a different mindset now. Maybe I'm working. Maybe my toddler is crying. Maybe I'm in a fight with my husband. Maybe you don't know what's going on.
Yep.
You caught me when it was great. Maybe the customer is there. Maybe they're at home with 6 feet of snow outside. They're looking at a hotel in Barbados and commenting because they feel something right then. If you get a reply back from a hotel when you feel that, the odds significantly go up that they're going to check your hotel out. And you're going to be mental muscle forever.
Yeah, that's great advice. And again, these aren't like so complex.
These are just normal human things.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same way how, as a human being, we want to feel on a daily basis in our interactions. It's really no different. Okay, so how do we layer this onto like someone's personal brand? What are some pieces of advice you'd give somebody that is trying to refine it, maybe change it, or to start it?
Document your process. Everybody likes to see the wins. Everybody likes to see the losses. No matter what they say, they want to see both sides. And you will. What happened there?
It just froze. Everybody wants to see your wins and losses.
Yeah, everybody wants to see your wins. Everybody wants to see your losses. No matter what they say, I mean, you'll build a team of cheerleaders, just start. Just
Yeah.
pick up your phone and just start.
Yep.
You know, too many times people have, their profile picture is like it's not a clear photo of their face. Their bio doesn't describe who they are and what they do. I get requests from people that follow me and they want to connect with me all the time. And it's like, it's not a clear profile picture. I can't tell what you do. Like, I'm not going to accept, an invisible person.
Yep.
Like, are you crazy?
And again, another simple, not to just beat a dead horse, but simple. And, I have to admit something. So when I entered into the hospitality space, I was super intimidated. It's one thing to kind of work in hospitality on ships, but to be on the other side, and it took me a really long time to feel comfortable. And I wish I guess to your point, I wish I had started that earlier. But it was challenging for me, and I had to but it's like a muscle, right?
Yeah.
Every time you do it, you feel more comfortable. And at the end of the day, being someone you're not takes more work, and it's so much harder. And not everybody's going to like you.
Correct.
And guess what? You got to be okay with that.
Yeah, that's okay. Like, who cares?
Yeah, that's okay. All right. So, okay, so let's talk about a couple of ways that you would advise. So let's say you're a hotel and Earth Month, you're like, you know what? I want to start talking about our sustainability, or I want to start just thinking about it. So a couple of things that I suggest that hotels do is, one, just walk your property. From the lens of the guest, a sustainability-minded guest, you just start to, can people feel that you're invested in that? Do they feel your values? What would your takeaways be, right? Or maybe even have a friend come in so that it is, truly authentic feedback. The other I tell them to do is do a waste audit and have your teams actually video and taking pictures, because that's that raw. And I know most people think, oh, that's gross. I'm not talking about like spreading out the bottom of a, but interesting shots. Okay. So what would you tell a hotel on, how to get started in a new, a new endeavor, a new project, or just start highlighting things?
So I would do something like authentic sustainability without perfection. You don't need to launch a major initiative to start talking about it.
Yes.
Share progress, not perfection. Don't be afraid to say, we're not there yet, but here's what we're doing.
Yes.
It's okay to be learning publicly. That actually builds trust. It doesn't take away, which is what most hotels think about. Use short form video, show how you source ingredients. Like you said, reduce waste, train staff on eco practices. All those are great for short form video. Start a monthly sustainability update on LinkedIn, Instagram, or wherever your audience is. Collaborate with local eco partners or creators and tell their story as well. But at the end of the day, show your team, because they're the ones making it happen.
Yep. And I'm glad you said that, because without the team's buy-in and them understanding what is even happening, you're never going to reach an ROI, which at the end of the day, these businesses care about. So that's why one of the things that we do is we push heavily to train your staff, because they have to be bought in. But that is really great advice. And I love that you say do a monthly update, because consistency is key for everything you do, not just, of course, sustainability. And I think, one of the things out there is brands, hotels, independents, whatever you are, they're very scared of greenwashing. And I think what's important to remember is just don't make grandiose claims that you can't back up. There's nothing wrong with talking about starting your journey, with the progress you've had, the hiccups you've had, and how you're, deciding on what you're going to take on.
Yeah. And I think, by avoiding greenwashing, like you say, don't make claims that you can't back up, but be specific. So instead of
Yes.
saying we're sustainable, say we've reduced single-use plastics by 40% this year. You
Yes.
know, share your setbacks, which every property is scared to do
Yes, they are.
because they want everybody to think they're perfect. Share your setbacks and also the lessons you learned from the setbacks.
Yep. And I think that's so powerful because they did a survey, they constantly do surveys on booking.com and Focusrite and all of those. But one of the really valuable takeaways was guests said that when they stay in a property that they see environmental practices and social practices happening, they are more likely to implement them into their own lives. And so now you're creating behavior change. And I really believe that that's where a lot of that emotional connection happens and brand loyalty ends up happening. So, all right, Scott. So as a closing thought, where do you see the future of digital media going, and digital marketing? What do you think is next for that digital storytelling piece?
It's I don't really look at the future. I just sort of, okay. I keep my finger on the pulse all the time. I am constantly learning.
Obviously.
I learn everything from YouTube. I listen and watch 2 to 3 hours a day. And so if there's a new platform, I cannot join fast enough. I set up my bio, I set up my picture, I set up everything just because I'm there. I'm going to be there. I grab my name. I make sure that the infrastructure is set up. I might not be active from day one, but I'm there.
Yes.
So if somebody's searching for me there, and that's where you get a lot of organic growth. I saw brands, they waited 2-3 years before they joined TikTok, and then they join, and then they complain about not growing. And I'm like, you waited 2 years. Like, what do you expect? Now it's saturated. Like, it's crazy. Like, they expect to start last and end first. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? Listen, video's insanely important. Both long form and short form. Yes, we have short attention spans, but we also have long attention spans for things that are worth it. I mean, you can't make the claim that we have short attention spans, but we're able to stream 2 seasons of a show on Netflix literally back to back to back.
Scott is taking us to church today. Yeah, I mean, love that.
If it's interesting,
we'll watch
people will watch.
Absolutely.
So make yourself interesting. Invest.
And guess what? If YouTube, if people didn't have long attention spans, you wouldn't find hour-long tutorials on YouTube, like you're saying.
So I am YouTube Premium, so I download a lot of my all the stuff that I listen to, right? Like a lot of stuff by Gary Vee and Seth Godin and people like that. I will not download something if it's less than 30 minutes. I want the long stuff. I use them on flights. I use them on morning walks. I listen to it when I'm flying my drone. Like, it's mental muscle for me. I'll listen to, if there's a social media conference or digital conference in Europe or Asia and it's online, I will download it. I will listen to it, I don't know, 10 times. I want that mental muscle. And again, I know most of it. I speak at a lot of these conferences, but what's it going to hurt to listen to it 5 times again? It's going to just create that muscle that you need, that muscle that nobody has because they're not putting effort into it.
Yes.
But I got news for you. They're putting effort in to watch their favorite show at night.
You're exactly right. And as a business owner, I have gained so much valuable content from YouTube. I mean, it's the future, I think. Yeah. I mean, if you're not living on YouTube in some way as a brand, it's going to be hard to keep up.
Correct.
Because everybody can do it, and the ones who do it right,
or
right, and I don't want to say right, like we're saying, right, just make an effort. You're going to gain your tribe. So, well, Scott, we know you're a busy guy. We've probably got your knapsack packed and you're on to your next thing. So next week is Sea Trade.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then you are off to paradise.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait.
Bouncing around. Yeah, all over French Polynesia, Tahiti, Bora Bora. I'm going on one of the variety cruises, but one of their very small ships. I think maximum capacity is 49 or something like that. And I think only 30 people are booked. I mean, it's going to be heaven.
It is going to be heaven. Yeah. And again, I'm gonna live vicariously through you. Scott, thanks for your time today. Absolutely. There were so many nuggets to be had. I can't wait to see what you do in the future, and I'm looking forward to another chance to collaborate.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your day and your future upcoming trips.
Thank you so much.
Yep, we'll see you soon.